So welcome back, it's another build. This one is number 2 of the trilogy of the micro builds, and this one from Alien Technologies, built under license by Angel Wing Designs, is the micro Sinbad. I've downloaded the plans from angelwingdesigns.co.uk, printed them off. So we're going to go through literally just a standard thing I normally do is a parts check, and then a couple of little things that people have asked me about my building board, and then we're going to crack on. Okay, couple of things about the board. I'm using this 5mm fibre board, and all I've done is I have just sprayed this mount spray onto the fibre board. I pre-ironed the plan just to get it flat. The other thing I'm going to do to cover this plan is I'm using this very thin plastic sheet, and it's the same sheet that the florists use. So this is not heat shrink covering, it looks like it. So this is from the florists, the ones they wrap the flowers in, and that works really well. So I'm just going to take that down on top. So let's have a little look and see what we've got in the kit. Accessory pack with some control wire, some elastic bands. There are 2 magnets, 2 washers, and 2 bits of carbon rod. There's the little plastic windscreen in, and there's also 2 horns. So I'm going to keep, they're very small, so I'm going to keep them in there until I need them. Now the actual kit, now the Sinbad has got a fantastic stringer constructed fuselage. So these are obviously the stringers for the fuselage, and then again they're almost falling out. They're superb cutting from Angel Wings. So there's sheet 1, this is sheet 2. This is quite thick wood on that one. That looks like most of it's for the spar and for the fuselage. And then we've got the last 2. That's obviously the tail surfaces, and the last one here is some sheeting. So I'm just going to hold that there, so if you want to you can pause the video and then just check out that you've got all your bits in the kit. You don't have to build the fuselage on plan. The only thing we're building on plan will actually be the wings. All the tail surfaces are done already, so that's literally just going to be sanding and shaping. And yeah, let's crack on. So this is what's called the fuselage main crutch, specific about making the alien sign on the bottom. Sand through the slots. One little tip when you're cutting this out, make sure you cut the little tags either side, because it's very, very thick. Don't think that just cutting one side they're going to be able to pot out. Also, make sure you brace and hold the fuselage when you're actually cutting these slots out. It's very easy to distort this fuselage, particularly when you start getting some of the main panels out. So these are getting glued in square, and then this little magnet is getting stuck into this hole in the front, like so. So the next bit, we need end one, which is going to go onto there nice and square. Don't overdo the glue because we're going to need to be doing some sand into that. And then end 2 then fits into there, and then we're going to be dropping the keel into here. Now my advice is, when you've got those done, I would unpeg this and just make sure that all these slots are nice and clear on this keel, and make sure it's nicely dry fitted before you drop it on. Okay, there's the keel added. Little tip here, just make sure that you be very careful when you're drying fitting this. It's very easy to distort or break these, particularly these little formers down the back, and make sure that you've got it nice and square and flat down the bottom, because it mentions in the instructions, if it's not square, then your fin's not going to look out of place. But there you go. Okay, next step is a couple of the 3/32 stringers. These will need cutting to length. It's butted to the front, fits in all the grooves, stands proud on F5B, and then is going to get sanded to shape down at the bottom. Next thing is the 2 extra nose supports, which go on here either side of this main keel, like so. Okay, so we've taken her off the bench, and I've just sat mine on a little bit of blue tack, more for videoing purposes than anything. That's the fuselage. And I'm just resting that there like so, and we're then adding F3, F4, F5, F6, and they drop in here. Again, when adding the formers, just make sure that you've got it nice and square. Before adding the glue. Okay, that's the formers, the top formers added. One little top tip, see this tiny little one here? I just very gently added just a little bit of super glue just on this very thinnest point here, just on the surface. Don't fill up there where the longer one's going to go, but that looks like that's got "break me" written all over it, so just a bit of added strength. So the next thing is, we're now needing 2 F7s and an F8, and they are going to drop onto here like so. And then that's going to drop off across there like that. Okay, I've added the F7s, the F8. Now, cautionary tale for everybody. While I was holding this like so, over squeezed it and I cracked that just there. So you'll notice it's not on the plan, but I've actually put a very small fillet across there, which you can see. My theory being is it's just below where the band rod is going to go, and there's going to be a fair bit of force across there, so I just added that. So I like to be honest when I'm doing my building. You know, as a whole structure it's very strong, but in individual pieces it's quite fragile, so something to watch out for. Just be gentle. So with the offcuts from the first bit of stringer, you have to add a small piece of stringer just in here down to F5. Then the next thing is cut these out, and then one at a time these drop into here like so. It's quite important to make sure that when they're finished you've got a gap in the top because that's where the tail fin is going to slide. So that's the next step. So I've added the what is the seat for the tail plane, remembering that we want the little gap at the top for the rudder to slide in. Next step is to get another couple of bits of your 3/32, and this is now going to be dropped into here and finished just at this former here. They do need to be cut slightly so that it does say in the instructions they're going to sit slightly proud, but I would just make sure that you just go through every one like so, just making sure that they actually drop in. And I found that using the nail file is quite nice just to open them up. Okay, so I've added the stringers just to the side. That is the basic fuselage done. The one thing I would say, just be very careful when you're building it, because a lot of these structures down this end are quite fragile until you get them all glued together. So just be aware of, like, you know, where you're putting your hands and where you're resting it. As I say, I did break this here because I just literally pinched it too hard, but I put that little fillet in, which is not a bad thing anyway. The next stage is to build the cockpit hatch nose area of the Sinbad fuselage. Now, to start off with, we need H3, I think it's H2. First mention is that we've got, don't knock out these holes, complete marks here. The idea is these two washers actually just need recessing into the spaces so they fit flush. I'll tell you what I did use. I used my little Dremel, and I've got this sort of flat-ended milling piece on it, and I literally held it vertical and then just milled round it, milled the hole out. One top tip as well is that the marked hole is slightly smaller than the washer, so you're just going to have to go slightly bigger than the hole to get the washer to drop down in. So you want to drop these down in place like so. They want to be fitting flush and then glued in place. Okay, so the next step is making sure that you have your magnet facing down and your magnet facing away. This is then glued to here, making sure that it's nice and square. When we've got that nice and square and dried, we're then going to dry fit this onto here like so, and then drop this little canopy protector across here. Just make sure you get the magnets in the right orientation. Okay, so I have glued the back plate, the back of the cockpit, H3 square, making sure I've got a little set square, make sure it's square. So the next things we need to do is just to dry fit this chap here, the H5, make sure everything fits nice like so. That's going to drop in there, that's going in there like so. And then the little cockpit is then going to drop into there like so. So I'm just going to dry fit all of those. When I'm happy, got it all nice and square, we'll glue it in place. Okay, so back to the basic fuselage. This is all just literally held together by push fit at the moment, and what I'm going to do is we're just popping that back into place, and the magnets all work beautifully. And what I'm going to do is, now that's all sat in place and I'm happy with it, with that, where possible, well, obviously not accidentally gluing it to the main part of the structure, I'm actually just going to wick in a couple of little places sort of on the top there, just to hold it in place. Let it set, take it all off, and then make sure everything's glued down in place. Okay, so that's all nice and dry and square with the magnets facing outward, sorry, the washers facing outwards. Now you're going to need these numbered 1 to 8, and this is basically going to make a massive block in the front. So I am just very carefully going to, I mean, I've got to say, as with all the angel wing stuff, there's very little sanding. I'm just going to make sure. Notice how I'm supporting these, and I'm just going to clean these up. When I've cleaned them all up, the idea is that these are going to go on here like so. Now the suggestion is, and I would endorse this, do not go mad with, if you're using super glue, I might use a wood glue for this, because if you overdo the Sino, you might find these difficult to sand, but this is the effect. We're looking for. It's a massive sandwich. Okay, so the very last thing to do with the cockpit, I did actually leave this overnight. I didn't use super glue on mine. I used this Superfatic glue. It's the first time I've used it. It's very runny, but it seems to have worked very well. We'll find out when we come to doing the sanding. So the next step is we need this H6 out. I'm just going to put that to one side for a moment, and then the idea is so that this then gets stuck onto here like so, and then bent over. Now in the instructions they tell us to use a window cleaner. I've not done that technique before. I would normally just whack this over the kettle for a couple of minutes, but I thought it'd be quite nice to experiment with this. So I did do some experiments. I used that Astonish window cleaner and glass. Apparently it's got with vinegar for streak-free shine. So I tried that, which came up with this result, and that was, it started to curve 2 or 3 minutes after I put it on. Also I did try the Astonish stainless steel cleaner, and that appeared to do exactly the same thing. So that was another test piece, and that was done about an hour ago, and they both seem to have dried and worked perfectly. So here's the plan. I'm putting that on there like so, and remembering that whatever side we cover, we wet down, we're going to be using that on the outside. So I'm using the Astonish window glass cleaner. There you go, and we just got to wait 2 or 3 minutes. Cheers. Right, brew finished. I'll give it up 5 minutes, and you can see actually just laying it over the screwdriver, it's beginning to get a little bit of a set in it already. So golden rule, wet side on the outside, and I'm just going to trial fit this first. So that fits in there like so, and I'm very gently going to bring that round like so, just making sure. Right, now, in fact actually that has worked out perfectly. So what I think I'm going to do is, while I've got this sitting in a beautiful spot, I think I'm just going to wick a little bit of CA in there. I did think about the Superfatic quadrilyphic effidosis or whatever it's called, but
I'm just going to wick a bit of super glue in there to hold that, basically hold that in place. These tacks here you cut off afterwards, and what I've used is my little rechargeable Dremel, and what I've done is with some of the spars I've just gently ground that off. I'd be a little bit concerned about trying to cut that off with a knife. So that looks like that's holding, and now back round to the other side, and I'm just gonna get that in place. And then just adding a little bit of super glue. Just to hold that in place. And then once I'm happy that it's all set, then I'm going to infill. There we go. I'm then going to infill with a bit of glue around the inside. But that's gone perfectly. Astonish window glass cleaner. So add a bit more glue to that. This is going to go on here like so, and that is the canopy and the fuselage finished. The next step for the canopy and the fuselage is to go round and do a load of sanding. I hope you enjoyed that first bit. The next bit is we'll be going on to the wings.